إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه أما بعد الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. All praise and thanks belong to Allah for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. Ya ibadallah, how are you with the Qur'an inside of Ramadan? It is very important that we are consistent in our reading of the Qur'an throughout the course of the year. Not just in Ramadan, but throughout the course of the year, that every month we are consistently reading the Qur'an. But in particular in Ramadan, it is of a must that we give attention to the Qur'an, especially in the month of Ramadan. As we know, this is the month in which the Qur'an it was revealed. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He informs us in His noble book. So it is very important, it is very vital that in this month of Ramadan that we strive to read from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we must remind ourselves not to become distracted, because as we know, there are many things that will distract us. Many things in our daily lives, many things from media and entertainment, many things from social media, right, that will become a distraction for us inside the month of Ramadan. And it is unfortunate, but there are from amongst us those who have been duped and tricked by the shaitan to the point that they spend their Ramadan in the exact same manner that they spend the rest of the months of the year. You'll find, unfortunately, that some of us, the manner that we conduct ourselves throughout the day of our fast or throughout these days of Ramadan is the exact same manner that we conduct ourselves outside of Ramadan. And the day that you fast, it should be distinct from the day in which you don't fast and the way that you behave therein. And likewise, for those who have a religious excuse and they do not fast, don't allow this to become a distraction for you, in that you do not seek to benefit and to increase in other acts of worship because you are not fasting. Just because you are not fasting, don't treat these days in Ramadan the exact same way that you treat the days outside of Ramadan. But you should be striving to benefit yourself, bi'ithnillahi ta'ala, just like everyone else. And in particular, those things in which we can do for those individuals who are fasting and those individuals who are not fasting is that, due to a religious excuse, like one who has a perpetual sickness, so on and so forth, is that we should be striving to what? To read the Qur'an. We should be putting forth effort inside of this month of Ramadan to read the Qur'an, more so than even outside of Ramadan. Let us look at some of the Salaf and what they used to do inside of Ramadan so that we can kind of gauge and see where we stand. Once we know the bar and how high the bar has been set, then we would know our relationship to whether or not we are, the cat's meow, as they say, or whether we are coming up extremely short. Okay? So there comes narrations upon the Salaf, فمنهم من كان يختم القرآن مرتين في اليوم الواحد, that there were some of them who used to finish the Qur'an 2 times in one day. Okay? They will finish the recitation and reading of the Qur'an from beginning to end 2 times in one day. مرة بالنهار ومرة بالليل, one time during the day and one time at night. So they would finish the Qur'an twice in one day. Okay? Twice in one day. ومنهم من كان يختم القرآن كل يوم مرة. وذلك جاء عن العثمان، كان عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنه يختم القرآن كل يوم مرة. It comes on Uthman, and from the Salaf we should say that there were those who they would finish the Quran every day once. As there comes on Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu that he used to finish the Quran every day one time. Okay? وكان بعض السلف يختم القرآن في قيام رمضان في كل 3 مرة. That there were those from the Salaf that in their standing in the month of Ramadan, every 3 days they will finish the Quran. So in their standing, in their night in Ramadan, every 3 nights they will finish the Quran. So this means that they were reciting 10 juz per night. 10 juz per night inside of Ramadan. وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي كُلِّ سَبْعٍ مَرَّةً. And some of the Salaf, they used to finish reading the Quran every day, or every 7 days, one time. So they would make a khatam of the Quran every week inside of Ramadan. وَبَعْضُهُمْ فِي كُلِّ عَشْرٍ. And then some of them, they will finish the Quran every 10 days. Every 10 days in the month of Ramadan, they will finish the Quran. So on average, they will finish the Quran in the month of Ramadan 3 times. 3 times they will finish the Quran. And the Shaykh Raslan, he mentions as relates to what comes and is well known of the prohibition of making a khatam of the Quran in less than 3 days. So the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, وَإِنَّمَا وَرَدَ النَّهْيُ عَنِ الْقِرَاءَةِ الْقُرْآنِ في أقل من 3 على المداومة. على المداومة على ذلك. That there comes a prohibition, and verily that the prohibition that comes in reciting the Quran in less than 3 days, yani being continuous upon that, okay, and being continuous upon that. So meaning that the prohibition of reading the Quran and finishing the Quran in less than 3 days is being continuously upon that, doing that consistently. وَأَمَّا فِي الْأَوْقَاتِ الْمُفَضَّلَةِ. But as relates to auspicious occasions, كشهر Ramadan, like the month of Ramadan, for example. وخصوصا الليالي التي يطلب فيها ليلة القدر. And especially those nights wherein an individual, they are looking therein for ليلة القدر. أو في الأماكن المفضلة, or inside of sacred places. كمكة مثلا, like inside of Mecca. لمن دخلها من غير أهلها. For one who enters into Mecca as a visitor, he is not from his residence. فيستحب الإكثار فيها من تلاوة القرآن. Inside of these occasions, then it is encouraged for us to increase in the reading of the Quran inside of these occasions, and inside of these situations. And this is what? In order to fully capitalize on the time frame that we are in or the place that we are in. اغتناما لفضيلة الزمان والمكان. And to take full advantage and to reap the rewards of the time frame that we are in or the place that we are in. Does that make sense? So it is important that we reflect on this. And this statement and this understanding of reading the Quran in less than 3 days when you are in an auspicious occasion or where you are in a very virtuous and sacred place, then this was the understanding of and the qawl of Imam Ahmad wa Ishaq wa غيرهما, and other than him من الأئمة. Imam Ahmad and Imam Ishaq, both of them and other than them from the Imams of the past, was their opinion, and this is the view in which they saw as being the most accurate. And when you compare that to what the Salaf they used to do, Uthman, for example, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, then you find support for this understanding that when you are in an auspicious time or you are in a sacred place, then we are to increase in reading the Qur'an. Now, we are to increase in our recitation of the Qur'an. So with this being the case now, I want us to look at us. How are we spending our days in Ramadan? How are we spending our days in Ramadan? Naam. Are we striving to read from the Qur'an as much as we can read from the Qur'an, or are we spending our days and our nights in Ramadan the exact same way we spent our days and our nights throughout the course of the year? Now, a person, they may come and they say, but me personally, I don't know how to read Arabic. I don't know how to read Arabic. Naam. So, of course, this is an encouragement to learn how to read Arabic, and what a beautiful time to learn how to, or to begin to learn how to read Arabic than here in the month of Ramadan. Naam. But also some advice from your brother is that I will advise you to read the translation of the Qur'an in your language. Now, this is not the same as reading the Qur'an in Arabic, so I don't want you to understand that it is, because it is not. However, this is still a benefit, because you will become familiar with the meanings of the Qur'an, and this is what it's really all about. Do you understand? And that is that we contemplate and reflect over the Qur'an. So for those who are reading it in Arabic, if you understand Arabic, then read in a manner that allows you to contemplate and to understand what is being recited and what is being read. Okay? And if you do not understand Arabic to that extent, but you are able to read the Qur'an in Arabic, then I advise that you also set some time aside so that you may read the translation of the portion that you read in Arabic, so that you can reflect over its meanings. But if you are not able to read Arabic, then read the Qur'an and reflect over the meanings in your language. Naam. So that you reflect and ponder over its meaning in your language, so that you fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the best of your ability, and you do what you are capable of doing, bithnillahi ta'ala. And this will be a tremendous benefit for you to become familiarized with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning its meanings inside of your language. Now, so these are some things in which I encourage us to do inside of this month, bithnillahi ta'ala, in imitating our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who used to recite the Qur'an with Jibreel inside of the month of Ramadan. Naam. And also imitating the Salaf as they used to read the Qur'an much inside of the month of Ramadan, so that we may capitalize over this time and we may capitalize over this opportunity, bithnillahi ta'ala. And don't allow social media to distract you. Don't allow social media to distract you. Don't allow the shaitan to play you. Okay? Don't allow the evils of yourselves to dupe you and persuade you. Don't allow yourself to be tricked and to be duped into losing out on this opportunity. Bithnillahi ta'ala. Be of those who are diligent in reading the Qur'an and contemplating over it inside of the month of Ramadan. And wa bila shak wa bila rayb, like in every month of the year, living in accordance to it. Bithnillahi ta'ala. فنكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وجزاكم الله خيرا.